In this entrepreneur strategic briefing, we're addressing a problem I had early in my business ownership, something that most owners don't realize they have until growth starts costing more than it returns. When I saw this, I assumed revenue was the issue, so I pushed sales and pricing. But the problem wasn't revenue, it was the way the work was designed, how it was productized. Now, when most people hear productized, they think packaging, they think pricing tiers, maybe a cleaner offer page. Instead, I'm talking about redesigning the internal mechanics, the architecture of how the service runs so that growth no longer has to route through you and the business can scale without you being the operating system. This episode exists because I learned this the hard way. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Strategic Briefing, where we cut through surface problems and uncover the moves that top CEOs use to scale with confidence. The goal here is to help you see beyond the illusion of productivity and get to the real leverage that actually drives growth. Let me start by being clear about something up front. Yes, I did have a profit problem. That's why profit is part of the first layer in everything I build. Until profit stabilizes, nothing else matters. But here's the part that most owners don't expect. Wonky, irregular profit won't stop you from growing, but fixing profit alone won't solve the path to scaling. It didn't for me, and I doubt it will for you either. Instead, it reveals the exact point where scaling will break next. Sure, profit gave me stability, clarity, signal. But once the noise around profit dropped, something became obvious. The service I was delivering wasn't designed to grow without me. Profit focus didn't remove the constraint, it simply exposed it. When profit is unstable, decisions get reactive, owners protect their margin manually, the team works harder, but they leak a lot of value. And growth will add pressure instead of capacity. That's real, and that has to be fixed first. But once profit stabilized, I noticed something unsettling. Revenue could grow, margins could hold, and the business could still feel fragile. Why? Because delivery still depended on judgment living in my head, decisions escalating upward, quality being protected by vigilance, usually me, and margin being preserved by my attention. Yeah, profit stabilized the business, but scaling pressure exposed my service model. Now let's look at the real misdiagnosis. A lot of owners think their primary problems are more leads, better sales, higher prices. Unfortunately, that's almost never true at the scaling stage. What's actually happening is this. Demand is increasing pressure on a service that was never designed to operate without the owner. Now, I've talked about this before, of what the symptoms look like. Your effort is increasing faster than your output. Your teams are staying busy while margins stall. And leadership bandwidth is definitely shrinking. And for you, decisions pile up instead of flowing. Notice something. It's not a sales problem. It's not even a people problem. That's a productization problem. What I often see is too many owners misdiagnosing what's really happening inside their business. That's why I built this week's framework fix, the cash leak triangulator. It doesn't ask, are you profitable? It helps you identify where delivery allows cash to escape through things like rework, friction, handoffs, and structural blind spots. Now, if growth feels harder than it should, this is the right place to look. You'll find the link in the description. Now let's dig into what productization actually means more than what we've already covered. Productization is not documentation. It's not SOPs. It's not turning services into rigid checklists. Productization is structural design. It answers questions like, What decisions are required every single time? Where does judgment live in my business, and where shouldn't it even exist? What must never escalate? What outcomes matter more than activities? And what work should move forward without permission? Now, a service is productized when margin protection doesn't require supervision, when quality doesn't depend on heroics, when delivery doesn't collapse under volume, and the owner is no longer the safety net. Until then, the service may sell well, but it will never scale cleanly. Now, this is an important point. Productization before profit creates some bureaucracy. Productization after profit creates leverage. Profit gives you the clean signal, the operational truth, and the financial calm that allows you to see where work breaks, where margins leak, where decisions bottleneck, and where effort replaces structure. Now, productization isn't the first move, it's the next move once profit is stable and scale is the goal. The moment productization clicks, something changes. Growth stops feeling heavier. Teams stop compensating for gaps that they know exist. The leaders stop firefighting, and decisions start flowing instead of stacking. It's not because people are better, but because the system finally carries its share of the load. That's the difference between a service business that grows and one that actually scales. Now, if growth is creating pressure instead of leverage, start with a cash leak triangulator. It'll help you see whether demand is the real issue, whether delivery structure is quietly draining capacity and cash. And you won't fix that with more effort. You fix it by redesigning how the service works. You'll find the link down in the description. Profit stabilized my business, but productization made scaling possible. If growth feels harder than it should, it's not because you're doing it wrong. It's likely because the service was never designed to grow without you. I'm Randy Bridges, and this has been your strategic briefing, where we cut through surface problems and uncover the moves that top CEOs use to scale with confidence. I'll see you next time.